it's the 18th of December, just 1 week to go to Christmas, and we are opening another window in the TooFatLardies Oddcast Advent Calendar. So today we're going to ask Nick to tell us what are his hopes and fears for the future of wargaming.
Okay, interesting question, this one. It's a tough one, isn't it, to reflect at this time of year, especially on the year we just had, about where the hobby may be, where it may be going, and what our hopes and fears for the future of it are. But I am at heart an optimist, and I believe that it'll all be alright in the end, and if it's not alright, it's not the end. So I'm sure we'll come out of this difficult period for everybody, for society, for the economy, and of course for the hobby, with loads of positives that we can build on. And I think there are a few things that obviously have come out of the coronavirus that actually offer some potential for us. We all know that we've seen a massive growth in the way that people are connecting online, and online gaming, the ability to play games via Zoom using handheld devices that have really high resolution cameras on, has been a really positive feature for many of us, and I think that is something that is going to stay with us. I think we now feel that we can use that as a method to game with people from different parts of the globe. For instance, I know Richard has been gaming with some guys in Australia doing some Cold War stuff. We would never really have dreamt of doing that 12 months ago. And I think what coronavirus has done, and the lockdown that's gone with it, has moved us to the position where actually we now suddenly realise that this technology actually offers some really interesting solutions for us to connect internationally and for us to gain. So I hope we can really keep that alive. I'd love to see an idea, for instance, where we've got people gaming. Imagine we had a 24-hour rolling game where we could just role players in and out of an online game that's using the technology. We're playing that same game using people from different time zones, just almost like an endless game. What an interesting idea that would be. Completely crazy maybe, but something that we can make the most use of. So I think when we go online in the future, there's going to be more of that. We're going to live our lives more online. We're going to do more gaming online. We're going to use more Discord. But I think that's a fairly obvious thing. We don't have to be Einstein to necessarily see that, do we? So I really hope that's one of my hopes. I really hope it is one of my hopes. So what else is, I think, looking on the bright side for us? One of my hopes for wargaming is that we make better use of another branch of new technology, which is the 3D printer. I think most of you will know I've been on a journey to try and understand how this works, and more importantly, I've been on a journey to try and get stuff 3D printed in scales that I've been interested in gaming with. And actually, again, it's something that a few years ago would have been unavailable to most of us, and now there are lots of businesses out there offering us products as gamers that we can use that are 3D printed. This is going to make a massive difference in terms of the terrain, and also in the models that are available to us, and possibly in the ranges of figures that we get. At the moment, 3D figures are relatively rare, I think, but I think we can see that in the future we might be able to use 3D printing to print out armies, and probably not too far beyond that we can print out pre-painted armies as well, so they're coming off the printer pre-painted. And I'm sure that in 15 years time, when I'm pushing up the daisies or rolling around in my wheelchair, whichever it might be, gamers are going to be having a 3D printer in their games room, or in their wherever it is, their garage, and they're going to print off their armies. I'm fairly sure that will be a thing that will happen. I think that's a really good thing, and I hope that enables niche areas to stay alive, in terms of you can print out not just French Napoleonic line infantry, but you can print out Bavarian sappers and that kind of stuff too, so it keeps those going. It's an interesting area for that. One of my other hopes, I think, is that one of the things that I've seen becoming more popular again in recent times is Kriegspiel as a game. And I think, again, whether this is fired by gaming online or not, I'm not really sure, but Kriegspiel seems to be a game that is now more popular and more present in the psyche of wargamers, certainly that I'm aware of, than it ever was before. Well, maybe not ever was before, but that it has been in the last 10 years. And I think there's an interest in Kriegspiel, and if we can make Kriegspiel accessible to gamers, because I think sometimes it's seen as a bit of an elitist kind of thing. I think if we can make Kriegspiel accessible to gamers, then people can have loads of fun with that. And it's a very low cost, technologically comfortable, technologically friendly game to get involved with. So Kriegspiel actually got lots of positives going for it. So I really hope that we can improve on the way that Kriegspiel is played and get more people playing Kriegspiel. I guess my final hope would be to return to just gaming with socially with people, getting together after coronavirus, and I hope that we can still enjoy our club meetings, and I hope that we can still go on our battlefield tours, and I think that's really important. I think alongside that too, again with technology, if I'm going to add one more that's just come into my mind about the hopes for wargaming, I hope that the amount of information that's available to us on the internet, which we know now is phenomenal, in the future is going to become even more phenomenal and will allow us to access National Archives, War Office documents, all the things that are currently hidden behind closed doors. As they begin to come online, I think we can access more of the primary sources of the information that we use in our games. And as a games developer and a games designer, that's fascinating. Imagine if you could research more easily some of those war diaries of some of those units that we're interested in, and for them to be available much more online than they are now. That's a real hope of mine, actually, is that we can take away some of the barriers that are preventing people from accessing that information and make it freely available online to all who want it. I don't really have many fears when it comes to the future of wargaming, actually, being a glass half full kind of guy. I do fear a little bit for historical gaming in the hobby as a whole, and I hope that historical gaming can continue to perform well, keep people coming into it, and not be overshadowed by some of the alternative history games, which I think are sort of potentially squishing history out, because it's easy, isn't it? The thing about historical gaming is you need to carry out the research, and I think actually an easy option is to do a what if, or to do an alternate view on that, and you don't need such the historical research to go with that. I get that from a gaming perspective, but I do fear a little bit for historical wargaming on the back of that. And I guess my only other fear is that, as I head into my 50s at an amazing pace, I look at the size of the lead mountain that I've got in my garage, and I'm starting to wonder if it's worth me buying any more figures, to be honest. I don't know if I'm ever going to get through them all in the time that I've got left on this planet. And you kind of think, well, what a terrible state of affairs to be in. I don't want to end on a downer, but actually, I just hope, I fear that I'll never clear my lead mountain. So I better go and buy some more figures, because I think actually that nobody's going to shuffle off while they've got figures to paint, right? Especially if they're good ones. So maybe we can all become immortal if we keep adding to our lead pile, and we'll always have things to paint.
Remember, lard is for life and not just for Christmas.